Hey guys, so it is Selena Baker, the Freedom Chef, and I am coming to you guys live today. And there is 2 recipes that I'm going to do for you guys today. The first one, I'm going to go ahead and go over what both of those are. Excuse me, let me pull them up on my phone here. Okay, so I'm going to actually be doing the first one is a no-bake recipe. You don't actually have to bake it. It is going to be Trail Mix Truffles. And then the second recipe that I'm doing for you guys is a chocolate and peanut butter truffles today. Okay, so I'm going to go over if you can show my decarb marijuana recipe, please. So one of the first things that you guys need to remember to do in all of these processes is decarb your marijuana. The method that I've always used for all of my recipes is I preheat my oven to 240 degrees Fahrenheit, put it on a cookie sheet, and break it into small pieces before that. Don't use a grinder. If you use a grinder, it's going to make really small particles go into your butters and your oils and things like that. I place it on a cookie sheet, and then I bake it in the oven for 1 hour on 240. After I take it out of the oven, on the 240, I do a light spray of Everclear alcohol. It helps pull out the terpenes and makes the high a little bit longer, or the medicine and the pain relief a little bit longer. So that's how you're going to get to the portion of your decarb for your marijuana. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start on my recipe for the Trail Mix Truffles. Again, this is not anything that you guys have to cook. There is not going to be any heat applied to this recipe. That's why I chose this one for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and mix it up, and then I actually have one already together, finished and made for you guys. So the first part of the recipe, and we'll put it up here on the screen when we're done, you're going to be using a 1/3 cup of dried apples, 1/4 cup of dried apricots, 1/4 cup of apple butter, raisins, 2 tablespoon of peanut butter, and 1/2 cup of granola. Now, and the graham crackers and the mini chocolate chips, they're actually reserved for the end. A little bit of the graham crackers will be stuck into the recipe. Now, I didn't actually put dried apples. I chose dried mangoes and pineapples instead. I replaced that with the apples. So this is a trail mix. If you guys make any kind of home trail mixes or anything like that, guys, you can use this recipe, and you're welcome to substitute any of the fruits or anything in that. There'll be a couple portions of this recipe that I'll go over that I actually made some substitutes myself, okay? So you guys need a food processor for this. You can use a blender as well. Okay. So in the food processor, we are going to do, again, it's calling for 1/3 cup of dried apples. I'm going to be using the pineapples and the mango instead. With putting it in the food processor, guys, you're going to want to make sure you tear it up into smaller pieces if possible. Just makes it a little bit easier to process down when you're using the food processor. This is actually a 1/4 cup measuring. I'm going to overflow it a little bit, guys. And again, like I'd said on my other videos, these recipes that I give you guys that I've utilized, you always have the ability to adjust these recipes to how you see fit, to what fits your taste buds and whatever you would like in the particular recipes. Certain parts of the recipe, your butters, your baking sodas, and things like that, you can't play with too much. But on the this type of a recipe, you can change the certain ingredients and so on and so forth. Okay, so we got our dried apricots, 1/4 cup of that, and our apple butter. Okay, and then we need to do 2 tablespoons of golden raisins. I'm just gonna fudge that one a little bit. It's not that important. And let's see, what do I got next? A tablespoon of peanut butter. This, you can use any kind of peanut butter, guys. Obviously, I used creamy. I think that probably the creamy consistency might work a little bit better. However, if you use crunchy, it'll add some additional nut texture to your mix. It's only calling for 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. And let's see here. We put all of that in our food processor. Turn it on. Okay. And let me move all this stuff out of the way here real quick, guys. Now you want to use the food processor and blend this to a nice creamy consistency. And that's actually going to take about probably 2 minutes. Processor, guys, just take a couple breaks in between and push down on the side your mix, because your fruit is what is the biggest here that we're having to get chopped up. Is also the step where I am going to be adding. Now, your choice of your Canna addition to this is actually the step that I'm going to be adding it in at. I actually chose coconut oil for this recipe because when you use the Canna coconut oil, it retains a lot of the sweet coconut smell. So with this being a sweet item and something that we're not going to actually cook, we want to try to keep the flavor and contain the flavors with whatever Canna oil that we're using. So I'm actually going to use put 3 teaspoons in here. This again is not a specific dosage here that I'm going to be doling out to you guys. These are homemade recipes. The purpose of these recipes is so that you guys can use the Canna for your medicine, and you also have the ability to make this stuff at home. So you're going to save a lot more money. You'll have the ability to play with your recipes a little bit more and dose yourself properly. So the dosage part of this is definitely a science. However, it is a science for each individual person. I can't sit here and tell you what dosage you would need. It's all based on your pain levels, how you process it, and this food could work better for you than another food. So it's always a good idea to try a bunch of different options. If you don't have a lot of things to a lot of product to use to be able to do this, then I suggest you going to either vendors or dispensaries and finding the coconut oil, the olive oil, and things like that, so that you have a little bit of more of an option to figure out what works best for you. Okay, and I'm actually going to, since I have such wonderful friends here in the studio that wants to try all my wonderful stuff, I have a Glycerin Recipe here. Actually, I apologize, not the actual recipe, but what this is I put 1/8 of flour in glycerin that you can actually get at the hobby store, the craft store, anybody that sells cakes. There's actually cake products, I apologize, and icings. There is a glycerin there that you can use. It's not actually vegetable glycerin. It's a glycerin that you add to icings and so on and so forth to actually, if they start to get hard and so on, give them a better consistency. So what I did was I put the marijuana in here and I let this sit. This has been sitting for 120 days, okay? So this particular item is what you would call cold pressing the THC. You guys see it's got like an amber color. This particular glycerin's got a really sweet, sugary taste to it, and it almost has a similar taste of honey. Again, I don't have the exact dosage. This is a home batch. This is for personal use. I do know that 1 milliliter is enough to get somebody kind of through the roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put 3 milliliters into this recipe in addition to the coconut. So we can make it nice and potent for everybody here that wants to try it. Guys, so what we're going to do is now finish with the rest of the recipe. These are a little messy to make, or can be. Okay, guys. Okay, so now we're going to finish with the recipe. What we're going to actually do is add a tablespoon of my graham cracker crumbs. If I can spit it out there. Graham cracker crumbs. You can buy graham cracker crumbs, or you can buy graham crackers and crush them yourselves. A little bit cheaper to do it that way, guys, when you buy the crumbs, of course. You know they're charging you the labor to crush them for you. The purpose of this is to try to save us as much money as we can. Okay, so now we got our granola that we have to add. I actually chose this granola here. It's called Barenaked Granola. It's triple berries. You can just use plain granola. You can actually use a granola that has oats, any type of different things that is included in the granola you're welcome to use. I chose this kind just because we're doing a fruity item here, and this has got dehydrated fruit in it. And we need a half a cup of granola. I believe that's what it says, yep. So we have our half a cup of granola. And then I believe we have to add, I just made this today, guys. You'd think like literally like 2 hours ago. 1 tablespoon, let's see, chocolate chips. And yes, and we have to put our chocolate chips, our mini chocolate chips. That is 1/4 of a cup. And that's actually the part that adds, when I tried these, that's actually the part that adds the little kick to this. So what we're doing here is we're just mixing what we took out of the food processor. Now you want to refrigerate this after this step. It gives it a nice thick consistency and allows you to put it into the little balls that we're going to do here with this one that I have in front of me. And that's kind of what your consistency of this is going to look like before you guys stick it into the refrigerator, okay? Let me find my little cups here that I'm supposed to be using, gentlemen and ladies. Alright, so if I can get these little cups open here, I'm just using these to stick each one into, guys. So what's going to happen is we're going to put these into little balls, and then you can roll them around in whatever mixture you would like at the end. You can use sprinkles, you can use colored stuff, you can use the little mini chips here that I have, that I actually have in the recipe that I'm going to be using. And where is my granola? I'm going to add some granola in this one too. Alright, so let me get my gloves on so I don't have to make a mess. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, so this has been, it was actually in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, and it's nice and hard, which is good. All right, so you guys are gonna form these into whatever size you would like. It actually recommends, I believe, to 1 to 1.5 inch balls that you guys are gonna put these in. And then you're gonna roll it around in your graham cracker crumbs or whichever topping of you guys' choice. I feel like you could probably get some dehydrated fruit and kind of probably crush it up and use that as well. And there we have one. Trail Mix No Bake Truffle. I believe with the things that I added to this, it would make it a vegan recipe from what I can tell with everything, all my different ingredients. So this would be good for my vegans and my vegetarians as well. I have a lady in Vegas that does a cancer outreach that I work with that actually has melanoma and has to be really careful with what her diet intake is. And so hopefully she'll be able to watch this video and use this wonderful recipe. That's kind of a little shout out to her. It's HH Canna Care on Instagram. And if you guys get a chance to follow me, she's underneath of there. I've actually done a couple shout outs about her organization and her program out there in Vegas. So if you guys can check her out, she actually works with a bunch of the dispensaries and does cancer outreach out there and works with the dispensaries to get cancer patients free meds when their insurance is obviously not going to cover it. Great lady. When I get out to Vegas here in about a month and a half, guys, I'm going to do a little special while I'm out there. And hopefully I'll be able to have a chance to have her on that. So again, as you can see, you can kind of use whichever toppings that you would like. I'm not going to sit here and ball up every one of them while I got you guys waiting on me. I'm just going to give you a couple different examples. I don't know that the mini M&Ms are going to stick to that too well, to be honest with you, but we'll make her work. We'll put a little bit of. This is kind of one of those things. This would be a great recipe, obviously, if you're not using the Canna, to do with your kids. If you can very easily use CBD instead of THC, and then give it to your kids. My 2-year-old actually takes CBD every night to help her sleep. She has some sleeping disorders and things like that. We're going to be doing some specials here soon with you guys on using CBD rather than THC. The entire plant has medicine, and even the cannabinoids that are not psychoactive are going to help you guys greatly. And I'll do one more. That'll be my final one. And then I will start on this other recipe. The chocolate and peanut butter truffles that I'm going to do, guys, I have some of that prepared as well, but I have some things heating up over here so that I can step you guys through that recipe as well. Alrighty. So I think I'm going to finish up with that one. and we will start on the next one. Guys, so my table's a little full today. Okay, so let's see if I'm warm enough over here with my heater. In my pan, I think we need to turn it over off. That would be why. Jeez Louise, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So I'm going to bring the pan over here and start with the recipe first. I'm just going to go ahead and leave my gloves on, guys. Maybe. Okay, so this is going to be my chocolate and peanut butter truffles recipe. And again, I have some here ready to dole out for you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and step through the whole process. Now, this particular recipe calls for 3/4 cup of butter, which is my favorite kind of recipes because then it makes it a whole lot easier to add my canna butter and not have to figure out where I'm going to add my THC and my canna into the recipe. Again, with the recipe that we just did, there was no cooking involved and there was no butter. It didn't call for anything like that. So those recipes you got to get a little bit creative with and figure out where you're going to add your canna into the recipe. Again, that's kind of why I use the glycerin. This particular recipe is calling for 3/4 cup, 1.5 sticks of butter. I'm actually going to half this recipe that I'm doing in front of me because it makes such a large recipe itself. So that is 3/4 stick of butter, and then we're going to actually be adding some of the coconut oil and the glycerin to this recipe. So the coconut oil, I'm going to leave it shy by about a tablespoon or two to leave way for the coconut oil that I'm adding to it as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 1/2 stick of butter here, guys. And then again, we're going to add coconut oil. And I'm at the bottom of the barrel on this. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Yeah, I need some more of that. Definitely bottom of the barrel. Bottom of the barrel. And I'm going to add some glycerin to that as well, just to give it a little bit of an extra kick. These are all for fun treats, so we're going to make them strong. The exciting part is I have a couple more batches of this that I get to play with at home, the glycerin. I'm so excited about that, y'all. Can't even tell you. Like, it really, genuinely excites the hell out of me. Okay, so I have my butter, and we are going to do, it's calling for a cup of Reese's chips, and I'm going to do, obviously, 1/2 cup, half of the recipe. If you need a kitchen conversion chart while you're doing these recipes, I would highly suggest you get one. Me personally, I actually use my stick of butter for my conversion chart. A butter stick has all kinds of conversions already on there, and so you can actually, look, I'm sitting here talking and adding too much stuff. And you can actually use that for your conversion, but they do have kitchen conversion charts that you can get, and it makes this whole process a lot easier when you're baking all this. Okay, so we are literally just going to let this sit here. This is kind of what you're seeing in the pan is the butter. Okay, so we're supposed to melt this on low, which is what we're going to do. Maybe. Our trip to stop tripping. And it actually calls for you to heat it on low for a reason. It doesn't take much. Oh, let me bring the microphone over here, y'all. It doesn't take much to burn chocolate pieces and peanut butter pieces and such. So it calls for a low temperature melt. And then once this melts down here, guys, I'm actually going to be adding the cocoa and adding some sweetened condensed milk to it as well. Baby. Yes, it is working wonders. I'm going to go ahead and measure out the cocoa. It's calling for half a cup of cocoa, so we're going to do a quarter. This is a half measuring cup, by the way, y'all. And I apologize, sweetened condensed milk. This is Eagle's brand. I think this is the #1 brand that's on the shelves in most places. But you guys can use any off-brand. Borden, it looks like, is Eagle brand. Let's see how this is doing. Once this process is done, y'all, once this part is done, you will need to refrigerate this. That's what we got here. This is a nice runny consistency. And then it will thicken up for us. I think I just splashed it a little bit forward. Oh, that looks so tasty. And it smells so wonderful. It's important that you let all this stuff melt and get a nice creamy consistency. And you'll have chunky looking truffles at the end of the day. Now I'm going to add the cocoa. This, you have to let sit on here a little bit longer than the peanut butter pieces and the butter. It kind of gets a little chunky when you first add it. So you don't want to add the sweet cream, or the evaporated milk yet. And the vanilla is the last step. There is no vanilla. No vanilla in there. I forgot the vanilla. I've done that a few times in recipes. Sometimes it's kind of serious, sometimes it's not. So we'll see how it turns out today. Okay guys, so now the sweetened condensed milk gets added. You're supposed to stir this for 4 minutes. So when I get to that portion, we're gonna put the recipes up and do a couple of our little event shout outs and so on and so forth. And then I will come back with my pre-made here and show you guys how to finish up the recipe. Alrighty. This is actually, it calls for a whole can. Oh, I'm glad I remembered that. Half can. Half of a recipe. The second that you start adding this, it's really gonna start to thicken up. Okay. It actually, the recipe says to stir until it is glossy and thick. And it can take up to 4 minutes. If it's done before that, then you can stop stirring. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this into a container for me to make later. These need to be refrigerated. Again, the thicker your container and the higher the liquid is in the container, the longer it will take to thicken up. And I forgot the vanilla again. That's great. Well, at least now the recipes will match. That, hence, is the issue of why when you're a stoner and you're making edibles like this, it's extremely important that you follow recipes. Very important. Or this happens. Okay, so we have our pre-prepared here that is already done. And let me... I'm running short on utensils today, guys. Let's see what I got over here. Okay. And I need a plate. Same situation here, guys. Okay, so what I have here that we're going to roll these in is I have some sliced almonds that I've kind of broke up into little tiny pieces here that's going to go on the outside. This is just some Valentine's Day, just like cupcake toppings and things like that. Again, you guys can get creative. And then we also have a bits of brickle topping. That was great. Bits of brickle toffee bits. Okay, so we're going to be using that and putting it in it as well. And trying not to dump it everywhere. Today's just accident day for me. It's just one of those days. Okay. So this is a nice, good, thick consistency, guys, that you want to see. Makes it easier to be able to form it into your balls here, okay? Now this is much stickier than the trail mix is. Okay, so... put all our little samples over here. Okay, once you put your toppings on, you might have to re-roll it into a ball again. And then you can refrigerate these again after the fact, guys. They do get a little bit soft when you start to make them. So it helps them sit back up when you stick them in the refrigerator. This is almost like a fudge consistency of what this is going to kind of be like for you guys to work with. And obviously some things stick to them a little bit better than others. Just getting toppings everywhere. Good. Sheesh. I never said that I wasn't a messy chef. I feel like I don't know that I could possibly be a clean chef. I guess I could try one day, but it's a lot funner being messy. And I think I'm gonna have a little trouble getting these to stick as well. With this soft consistency, it's a little bit easier for you to get your toppings on the outside, guys. This, again, we're not, this doesn't have to look professional or anything like this. This is all for home consumption. There is one, and I am going to do one more. Actually, I might do a couple and go ahead and... Obviously, if you was concerned about exact dosages on this, you guys would want to dose out your recipe and then make sure that the sizes of your balls are consistent with how many servings you're expecting to get at the end. This actually calls for about 3.5 dozen, I believe, and I half the recipe, but I'm making these a lot larger than what they're normally called for as well. Alrighty. And that is the end of those recipes, guys. I'm going to do a few shout outs if you give me a second here. And so today is Toasty, I say this every time. Today is Tasty Tuesdays at Listen Vision. They are open from 12 to 10 every Tuesday. They do, they have vendors, DJs, edibles, caterers. I'll do a shout out here in a little bit to some of the people that we have here today. And catch us here every Tuesday. And obviously this is where my show is, guys, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock as well, live. And the next shout out that I'm going to give you is, because I'm a little slow and I need to pull them up on my phone because I can't remember them all. I have so many wonderful friends and they have a lot of good stuff, guys. So Saturdays, Glow's House, Mommy Purple Flower, one of my wonderful promoter friends, has a House of Session Flowers at Glow's House on Saturdays from 8 to 3. Please check her out there and find us there some Saturdays. Every Sunday, Glow's House has a comedy show from 11 to 4 as well. Please get out there and check that out. It's definitely a kind of a down-home event. It's not real packed, guys. It's not like one of these pop-ups where you got people in and out. It is a live comedy show, and that's a great thing for you guys to check out. Also, there is some vendors that we support. If you can pull up that page, we got Harem Bee Cakes Company, and I'm actually going to be shouting out an event that he has coming up this Friday as well, when I get a second to holler out about that. We have Canna DC. That is a vendor friend of mine that makes the most amazing Mexican tacos that you will ever have in your life. And please check him out. He is at the Spaceship a lot in the kitchen working, guys, when you get a chance. Really, really good food. Really great guy. Really good people. Bud Baker Products, obviously that's me and my product line. When you guys get a chance to catch me at shows, that's where you will find those items. DC Propaganda, another vendor friend of ours that we support, has some really great flowers and really great dabs. And then also Flower Child DC is another vendor that we support immensely. She is a great friend of mine. Really, really, really wonderful lady. And give me one more second, guys, and I will do my last couple shout outs. Yes, if I can find it on here. Okay, so there is an event, Greenhouse Smoky Saturdays. And this is I believe, a new event that they have down here. A friend of mine has 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. And if you can take a look at that, guys, I-71 compliant, alcohol strictly prohibited. And if you can, if you want to know any specifics, you're welcome to DM me, or you're welcome to DM Greenhouse on Instagram in regards to that event. And then there's another shout out that I wanted to do here, if I can. My phone is not cooperating today. Okay, so Friday, February 2nd is Feel Free Fridays. That is hosted by Harem Bee Cakes Company, a very, very good friend and vendor of mine. You guys have to RSVP on Eventbrite, and this is not this is a private party. This doesn't have a public address to be posted. So please reach out to him if you're interested in coming to that, or if you're interested in being a vendor. And my very last shout out that I'm going to do is for Jeremy here at Listen Vision. Please take a look at his combo deals that he has available to you guys down here. It is a full service studio, and he's got a lot of great offerings here, a lot of great things that you guys can use to help promote yourself. And I would highly recommend checking everybody out here. And if you join the team, you can get free food when I'm here on Tuesdays, so that's of course the bonus. So come see us and record some stuff. That is it, guys. I am out for the day.